Welcome to The Winning Hand, the podcast all about Marvel Champions, one card at a time. My name is Boom Guy, and I am your host, and I am joined today, as usual, by my regular co-host, Lazy Titan.
How's it going?
And we have a special guest today from Fantasy Flight Games, Xander.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I can't complain. I was super excited to sit down and talk some Marvel Champions. It's been a while since I've been on any podcast to really get into the game, at least since maybe this fall. So just excited to be talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the exciting new stuff to come.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining. We have a jam-packed episode today for the listeners and viewers. So we're going to talk to Xander about all things FFG. We're going to talk about the roadmap for pre-release reveals for Marvel Champions. And then stay tuned, because at the end of the episode, he actually did bring two cards along that we will reveal, the first reveals for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box. So that's very exciting. If you just want to skip ahead and don't care about anything else, that will make me sad, but there are timestamps down below, so you can feel free to do that. But before we get into all of that, we're going to have Xander introduce himself, and we'll talk a little bit about what we've been playing, and then read some listener emails. So, Xander, let's start with you.
All right.
There's a lot of intro right there.
Yeah, it's great. Set the expectation early, right?
Yeah, why don't you tell us about yourself and what you do at FFG?
So, I am Xander Taylor. I am the community manager for Fantasy Flight Games. I am approaching, I believe this month, my third anniversary here at the studio. Been in a couple different roles, working with organized play and community as a general idea. But most of my role is working with different community members, whether that be content creators, players, just streamers, anybody who is interested in talking about the game and making sure that we are, representing ourselves as a studio well to the public. And then also on the opposite side of that, taking all the feedback we get from the public and the community and all the players that we get to talk to and bringing that back to FFG and say, okay, here's the things that we've learned. Here's what we're hearing. Here's what people are liking. Here's what people don't like. Many of our team members are also out in the community talking to you all, but it's more of a formalized part of my position is getting to be sort of a middleman between both the studio and the community. Because before I started at FFG 3 years ago, I was a huge player of all of the different games for Fantasy Flight Games. So it's kind of cool getting to have a job that lets me, go on both sides of this and, get to play great games with great people and then go back to the studio and say, oh, we had this awesome experience. This is what people really are excited to see. And how do we do more of this in the future, which is just a very fun thing for me as both the player and a member of FFG.
Wow, well, that was a lot. I imagine there are people listening or watching this who think that this is like a dream job that they might want to do someday. So what was your experience before you got here? Did you have experience working in games or working in communications or a little bit of both? Or how does one become the next Xander, so to speak?
The next Xander. Oh, man, people are going to be gunning for my job at some point then. I don't know. So my experience before I started here, I do have a degree in communications, but I actually worked in education and higher education for a little while. But a lot of my free time was spent at local game stores, helping build community around specific games and getting involved there. It was a huge passion project of mine back when I was living in Ohio, and I had a great time meeting just tons of different players in the local community. And that was also part of my job in education, was doing a lot of community building and bringing people together for that sort of thing. So I had a lot of experience with that. And then a job opened up in 2022 or 2021, late 2021. And I was like, well, I should throw my name in the ring. I've got some marketing. It was like a marketing and OP coordinator position. I was like, I got some marketing experience and I help run tournaments and do organized play for these stores. That seems like it could work. And threw my name in the ring and ended up with the position. And since then, just been moving around the studio. And I was actually the first time, I believe, we were looking back at this, when I was moved into the community engagement specialist position. That was the first time we've had a position like that at FFG. And that's something that in the last couple of years has been a big initiative for us, is making sure we're active in the community and working closely with the players who are most passionate about our games. And so it's definitely a dream job for me. And if you're somebody who's passionate about games, I mean, you don't have to have a formalized position within the studio. I didn't to start out. It was just being passionate about the games and building a community in my local level, online, and things like that. And I think there's plenty of people that are doing those exact things out there right now, which is really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's it's a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah.
Um, so you talked about coordinating stuff, games and OP events and stuff like that. What are some favorite non Marvel Champions games that you like to play?
Oh man. So non-Marvel champions, and I'll stick to FFG stuff to start. Then, at least.
Company Man.
Yep. Company man, you know it. So Star Wars Unlimited obviously is a big one for me. I was
Hmm.
actually a big trading card game player before I started here. A big fan of Star Wars growing up, and so that one made sense for me as well. I have fallen in love with Arkham Horror. I played through a bunch of all of the different LCGs we've had, and so Arkham Horror is super fun. I'm really excited for the new stuff coming out for that. Outside of FFG, what are some games that I've been playing and really passionate about? I love some of our neighbors down the road, Leader Games. They have some really great stuff like
Hmm.
Root Arcs this year, and so really enjoyed some of the things that they've been doing, and they're a really fun group of people over there. So those are some of the games I'm most passionate about lately. But yeah, I've played trading card games for years, so that's where a lot of my experience lies is
Hmm.
in that side of things.
Awesome. So what does a normal day look like for you as the community manager at a board game company? Like, what kind of stuff are you doing day to day?
Oh man, day to day, I think my job probably flexes more than most people's jobs on the day to day basis of like, I'll wake up and I'll know what is happening and I will be doing these things throughout the day. My job changes a lot based on the communication I'm getting from people and what emails I'm receiving, who needs what when, and things like that. But I'd say a lot of my job revolves around if any of you uh listeners or watchers at home watch our live streams, I'm the host for all of our live streams, so I do all the planning for those things. So week by week is planning a couple different live streams with our team of people on site doing that. Working on preview seasons is a big part of it. And a lot of things are also like making sure people have assets and cards and the different things that they need to make what they're doing successful if they're creating content. And then also I go to a lot of our events and conventions. And so depending on the week, I could show up in Philadelphia or Indianapolis for Gen Con and things like that. And so a lot of my week is spent uh, responding and listening in and seeing what people are up to. I would say I spend a good portion of the day also just visiting different community groups that I know exist and saying, okay, like what's my vibe check here? How's everyone feeling about things? What are people liking? What are people playing? What are people doing? And so a lot of my job is just getting to have really fun conversations with people, whether I'm commenting them or I'm just watching them all have the interactions themselves. It's super fun to see what people are up to with the games.
That's interesting. So, community feedback seems to play a big role in what you do. Where do you go to get that feedback? Are you talking to in-person players? Are you on the various Discord servers? And now we're kind of drilling down on Marvel Champions. Are you listening to podcasts and YouTube, and are you on Facebook? Like, where are you kind of getting that feedback from the community?
Oh yeah, I can say for sure YouTube and things like that. Whenever I'm doing any other task where I can play something in the background, I'm always having somebody's latest video on card reveals or they played through a campaign. I'm like, oh, I got to listen through and see what the review of the whole thing is. So a lot of my time is spent by getting that review from people doing that. But I do talk to people in person a lot. I visit local game stores here whenever I travel. I also try to visit stores or people playing and doing little pop-up games, specifically for Marvel Champions at some of the conventions that we may not be showing off Marvel Champions, like a PAX Unplugged. I do try to, swing by and see people who are playing and building the communities there at those events, and having conversations with them. But I also definitely am involved in, like I am in lurking or otherwise in the Discords and Facebook groups and all the different places that Reddits and things that you could find community members and anywhere people are gathering to talk about the games and engage with them. I'm usually at least there to check it out and make sure that like, hey, like the feedback is coming to us and it's not just getting bounced around by the community until it boils over into something that we can no longer handle on our side. I want to make sure if there's issues, I can jump in and be like, oh, well, yeah, great, we can do this thing. Or if things are going well, I can pass that feedback on to our team and be like, wow, they love this like scenario from this box. This is so cool. Like, I just want to pass along this thing to the designers. Or if somebody really enjoyed a certain aspect of the graphic design, passing that along to that team and making sure that people are seeing all the great things. Because I know that many members of our team probably they do the work and then it's like a year later it comes out and you don't always get a chance to see all the really great feedback that people have for it.
Mm. Oh, awesome. So I want to just pick up on one more thing you mentioned earlier. You brought up organized play, and I would be wasting an opportunity if I didn't ask you about organized play. I know that is something that the community enjoys and thinks about, and I see a lot of people asking every day in various places online what the future of organized play is for Marvel Champions. Will there be more? There's been no information about it. Can you give us a sense of what the future of organized play for Marvel Champions is?
Yeah, I will say as much as I can on this. I wish
Sure.
I could say everything that I know. But I will say that this is something that we are actively looking at right now. What our approach is to organized play, and how we get people to meet up and do these things. There was issues with some of the ways that we were approaching it before. Obviously, I'm glad to hear that everybody was enjoying it, and there's a lot of people that were. But just making sure that we could get the kits to the players, and things were happening in the way that we wanted them to, and how we approach the stores and get all of this to be happening for specifically our LCG model is something that we are looking at and wondering, okay, how do we do this in a way that is, beneficial to the stores that are hosting these things, as well as gets the players together and helps them meet each other and do some of that community building that I was talking about. So it's something that we're working on and figuring out what maybe that looks like going forward.
Okay. But it sounds like it's not done. There's plans. There are plans to continue OP. Can you say that?
I cannot say what everything looks like, but I know that it is an active discussion that we're having, is what this looks like and what our support looks like at like things like conventions and things too.
Yeah. Okay. I know. I mean, I think a lot of people specifically are wondering about the cards, the alternate art cards and the promo cards. I think the actual events themselves are also something, but I see a lot of people asking about the cards. Lazy Tide, you have something to say?
I'm gonna say he's a company man. He knows what he's doing.
He is a company man. He's not going to give away any secrets here, and that's okay. We're not trying to get you in trouble.
It's the hardest part of my job is coming on here and be like, wow, I have some really fun things that maybe, especially when people ask questions that are very like specific about something, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're going to be so excited in 6 months or something like that. Is probably one of the hardest parts of a job like this.
But you were not specifically saying that we'll be excited about organized play.
I cannot say that for this one. I'm just
Who knows?
saying.
Okay.
You may be excited in 6 months. That's separate. That's a whole thing.
Maybe. In 6 months, you'll come back and say, I told you so, but without telling you so. Okay. So now I have a few questions specifically about your experience with Marvel Champions. So, what is your experience with Marvel Champions? How much do you play the game or know about the game, outside of kind of what you do, like professionally? Like, do you play it?
Yeah, I do play it. I would not say it's one that gets to the table as often as I'd like, but I'd probably say that for most of the games that I own. You can see some of them here, and I was talking before we started recording, there's a whole other room in another part of my house with more games. So getting everything to the table is not as often as I'd like, but my goal is usually, as each campaign or like the full big box expansion comes out, is to play through it just to know, what the players are seeing and things like that. Whether or not it gets back to the table anytime soon after that is usually up in the air, but I always end up playing with the new heroes too each time they come out, running through maybe my old favorite scenarios and things like that. But yeah, I play with my wife, and we have a couple friends that really enjoy the game as well. And so it's definitely one that it's not just something that gets to the table while we're in the office. It's something that I also bring out while I'm sitting at my kitchen table.
Awesome. Do you play standalone or do you play the campaigns with the campaign mode?
When I'm doing the first playthrough, it's the campaign mode because I love a good campaign. That's something to know about me, is I love a storyline that I'm working through, and I love getting a reward for doing things well or poorly and being punished for it. But I love that idea of something chaining these together. But I would say anytime I go back with hero packs, it's usually standalone, where I'm like, man, this would be really cool to fight this villain with, or this is a thematic pairing. That seems like it'd be a good idea. I'm gonna bring that one out today instead of just grabbing something at random.
Love it. Okay, well then I have a few rapid fire questions, or as rapid as you want to answer them. I suppose you could answer at length, but these are the ones we ask everybody when they come on. So, first up, the one that everybody wants to know: what's your favorite hero on Marvel Champions?
My favorite hero is Quicksilver.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Is that a big yes for me?
Yeah, Lazy Titan loves Quicksilver.
Oh yeah, that's
Let's
one of my
go.
faves. That's a good
Thank
pick.
you.
I knew I liked him.
Yeah, Quicksilver it's so fun to just be doing a little bit of everything if you need to. but also just to like keep re-upping yourself and just keep doing the thing that you're good at when it's that time.
I've said it before. I think Friction Resistance is my favorite card in the entire game of Marvel Champions.
Oh,
it's so fun.
So good. Quicksilver is definitely my main, which means that whenever I play, I'm like, who wants to play Scarlet Witch? Be sure it'd be cool to do this team up right here.
Yeah.
And so it usually ends up Scarlet Witch hangs out. But he's definitely my favorite overall. From our latest wave, I really enjoyed Bishop as well. I thought pretty cool.
Okay. Do you have a favorite aspect?
Not for Quicksilver, but as a general rule, I like leadership because I like having a team, and I'm like, this is cool. Where everyone's together, and you can build some thematics there. So I'd say that's probably my favorite as the idea of an aspect. With Quicksilver specifically, I'd say aggression.
Lazy Titan, you like to play him in Quicksilver in leadership a lot, right?
I do. He's one of the very few heroes I play in blue.
Oh, nice.
Because it lets you boost his stats with a lot of the cards, so you can do his thing even better. But I'll never knock him in for playing red. I'll never.
Maybe I need to go back this next playthrough and do leadership version of Quicksilver and see what I can do.
I think it's fun. There's a couple new ways to ready. I've also tried him out in pool recently, which I found to be quite powerful.
How are you both liking the pool aspect? I have to ask another question of you all now that you're asking.
I love the pool aspect. I've been on record. I was very skeptical at first. The Deadpool Hero Pack fell a little flat for me. I'm not really into that, but I really like the pool aspect. I didn't think I would. And when we interviewed Tony, I definitely asked him if there's more coming because I would like to have more pool for sure. It's really fun, but the pool tends to be a little shallow because there's just not a ton of cards. So a lot of the decks start to feel samey. You just need more cards. So I hope we get more.
Yeah,
so let him know.
Pun work, and I agree.
5 years worth of products compared to one like deluxe hero pack is a very big difference.
Yeah. All right. Do you have a favorite scenario?
Ooh. I don't think off the top of my head I can think of a specific one. I've really liked a lot of the Mutant Wave ones. I grew up as an X-Men fan, so some of the Sentinel stuff I really enjoyed. Overall. And then for like recent things, playing against the Four Horsemen is great, right?
Four Horsemen's a good one.
Got obliterated by it. It was very fun. I had a great time, but lost horribly. So, can't win them all.
That's okay. If you can lose and still have a good time, then the card game, I think, is good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
That's the best part.
Last one. What's your most played and or favorite player count?
Most played would probably be 2. Just because it's easy for me and my wife to sit down and play. And we don't have to do any planning. We can just be like, well, we had dinner and we have no plans tonight. Break it out. Let's go. And so 2 is probably what my most often. I do love 4 for the exact same reason that I like leadership as an aspect. I love building a team and being like, oh wow, we are the Avengers at this table here, and building a thematic, grouping of heroes is super fun, or doing that with the X-Men. And so I definitely like that. I know a lot of people prefer 3s, is a big one. But I'd say my favorite is just having a full table is just great.
Yeah. Are you going to come to the con again this year? I met you in person at the con last year.
Yes.
You'll be there again?
My game plan is to be there again this year. I believe. So May is always tough for me, but this year is even tougher with some family obligations. So fingers crossed, game plan is to be there. And if I can't be there for the whole weekend, at least swing by for a day of it.
If you are there, I would like to put my name in for a game with you, sir.
Let's do it. That'd be great.
All right. I'm going to etch that in stone. That is locked in. We're playing the game. Okay, so now we're going to kind of transition. Thanks for telling us about yourself. But now I want to know about the roadmap for kind of future reveals. So I think there was a little bit of hubbub or conversation, or maybe we'd go so far to even call it drama last time for the Magneto reveal, and I think that's led to some changes in how things are going to be revealed in future, and that starts right now with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is coming out very soon. So what can you tell us about kind of the future of Marvel Champions reveal season, as you're calling it, and kind of what that looks like? I know people are interested.
Yeah, sure. I for watching the community for the last couple of years on like how we do previews and spoilers and things like that, Marvel Champions community is so hungry for what next card is, what those next things are to see. So I know that this is definitely a huge topic for everybody that wanted to know. So that's why I was so glad that when you invited me to come talk about this, I want to be able to lay out, here's what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. preview season is going to look like. Here's what we're planning to do, moving forward into this type of thing. And so I know that throughout the history of Marvel Champions, there's been a lot of things like leaks and spoilers and things like that before the official product releases. That's something we're really working on nailing down and not, having happen as often. So that way we could do cool things like this initiative with preview season, where we're going to be working with you all today in this exact interview, as well as with other content creators over the next 4 weeks to preview a couple of cards each Tuesday and Friday. So from January, let me make sure I have the dates right. January 7th through February 7th as well. That's nice. We will be there will be at least, or every single Tuesday and Friday, there will be a creator going live with a couple of cards from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for you all to look forward to. So if you are out there, stay tuned to some of your favorite creators. They might be some of the ones previewing it, or be active in your local or in your online communities, because you'll be able to see when those cards are coming up then. And we really wanted to do a strict cadence for this one, because we know, the lead up to a set is super exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking what's happening, what cards are going to be coming out. We want something that you all can latch onto and say, hey, this is when I know I can get the next thing. This is when I will get a new card or a new set of cards. Now for this one, it'll be 2 cards each at least. And you can plan for, oh, cool, it's Tuesday. I wonder who this person is revealing the card. Oh, I wonder what the cards are going to be. Oh, sweet, it's for this hero pack, or it's for this encounter set, things like that. It's something that you all can plan around, rather than it being up in the air and going, are we going to get previews? Are we going to get anything? What's actually happening? And we want this to be a little more set. And so I will not be revealing the names, unfortunately, for you all today of the other 7 creators. I'll let them, announce for themselves that they'll be revealing cards before they do it. But stay tuned all month because we're really excited to talk about this, and we'll be ending on the 7th. So that way there's plenty of time before the release to make sure that we don't accidentally, get spoiled on some of our stuff with all the hard work the creators are putting into previewing these cards.
Yeah, so reveal season kicks off today, the 14th of January, and we are going to reveal some cards at the end of this. So if you're still listening, my promise holds. At the end of this, you will have 2 new cards, I assure you. But yeah, there will be some other people. So every Tuesday and Friday, I think that's awesome. That means that, every week people can look forward to what days are going to have them. I know that the Thursday articles that Peter writes are very popular, and no one ever knows what Thursday it is. So there's always a lot of anticipation in the morning of a Thursday. Hey, it's been a while. Are we going to get an article today? I think it's really great to know that, hey, Tuesday, we're getting a spoiler. Who's it going to be? What's it going to look like? All that kind of stuff. So I think it's really awesome. And I hope that, this works, and that you guys get some good feedback, and that we can kind of take that model going forward. But, people watching this, listening to this, feel free to let me know, or let Xander know, or let me know, and I can let him know what you think about the plan. Do you think this is going to work? Are you happy about this? Are you excited? Do you have other suggestions? Leave them in the comments, or send me an email, winninghandpodcast@gmail.com. Happy to relay that information or just discuss it with everybody.
Yeah. Love to hear any feedback. And this is definitely something not just for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We'd like to do this for the Hero Pack previews going forward, as well as have a regular cadence. And so you all can expect, as of now, to see that for whoever ends up being these next Hero Packs that we'll announce.
We'll just have to wait and see. Creators, I'm sure creators will kind of let people know, right? They'll announce it so that they know when it's coming. Uh-huh. All right, so let's slide on into some audience emails. And I don't usually do this when we have guests on, but I thought it might be nice as the community manager for FFG for you to hear from some of the people who have emailed us recently with their comments on the game and to kind of be part of that. So the first one, I will have Lazy Titan. Do you want to read the first email that we got from a listener?
All right, our email starts as follows. Hey, Boom Guy. Wow, thanks. Lethus and Lazy Titan. Okay, thank you. And the Red King of the People's Podcast.
I think that's Lazy Titan, the Red King of the People's Podcast.
Oh, I'm the Red King. Oh, my.
Yes.
I don't know why, but the Red King struck me as really funny to go along with the People's Podcast. Gag? No, this is a movement. Okay. It says, I'm a pretty casual player. I have the core set, Sinister Motives, and several character packs. Sometimes I want to play the game, but I feel like expending a lot of mental resources, if you know what I mean. Can you guys suggest some characters that are not very thinky to play? Which characters are the easiest to play? Maybe not so fiddly. Also, is there an overlap of some that are easy to play and powerful if you're looking for an easy victory? Seems like it could be a good question for the Red Kings play style. Have a great 2025. 5 stars.
From John
Powell.
I think that was pretty funny that he said when you don't feel like expending a lot of mental resources. Good one. Good
okay.
One. Good pun.
Excellent pun work. We
well,
know
then,
comedic geniuses in our fan base.
Yeah, of course. They're cultured. They're
talented.
Nuanced. Yes, they are the people. We're the People's Podcast. And so the Red King of the People's Podcast, I guess this is how you've been anointed now.
I suppose I've been crowned.
Yeah, why don't
this
you
is my
answer
coronation
first?
day, I suppose.
He has core set sinister motives and a few character packs. We don't know exactly what he has. But, can you give him some suggestions for non-thinky characters? And then we'll let Xander take a
characters.
Chance this one, too.
Well, as far as non-thinky characters go, I think Doctor Strange is number 1 on that list. You just play the spells, and they're always better than anything you can play, and it goes pretty well. I guess he also falls in line of that very good heroes that aren't super thinky. Doctor Strange has been one of the best heroes, if not the best hero, for the entire time he's been a hero that you can play.
Yeah.
Drax is also not super thinky. You just ready yourself and hit people. I love it. It's a great play style. And I would also say, kind of counterintuitively, Ironheart, I think, is also not super thinky. She is sort of a genius and does all things, but really it boils down to collecting those progress counters and leveling up as fast as you can, which is a fun little mini game to do, and also not super hard. And she's quite powerful, so you can get that feel good of having all these good cards that are winning the game, and you also got a little mini game that you're doing, and you're not thinking too hard.
Yeah, those are some good shouts. Xander, do you have any suggestions for characters that are not super thinky, a little easy to play, and maybe some really strong ones?
Yeah, I think Doctor Strange is a great one. I do love Doctor Strange. Who doesn't like just casting the spells that you always have there? Like it's a pretty great bit to have. Otherwise, I'm trying to think of some good ones. Some of the earlier heroes, I think, have abilities that were a little more straightforward. Thinking of people like Thor is draw cards. Great, that's easy enough to do when you engage a minion. So if that's something you're looking for, and you're looking for a guy who can beat up on minions, I think Thor is a great choice there. And if you can get your hands on him, he's a perfect one. If you don't need to think too far ahead, you just need to be doing the things that are on the table in front of you.
Yeah. Not thinky characters. I'm going to throw Hulk into the mix here. I think Hulk maybe doesn't fit with the second part of this, so easy victory, but he's pretty straightforward. You just play whatever you can afford, discard the rest, and smash. I think Captain America, maybe. Some of these earlier ones, like you said, are pretty straightforward. Cap is pretty basic. You can ready by pitching a card. It's a pretty straightforward ability. Quicksilver is a pretty solid one. And then, easy victory, I think there is number 1. We can talk about Strange, agreed. Ironheart, agreed. Spider-Ham, agreed. Another one that's
Spider-Ham's a little trickier, though. A little thinkier, I feel like, trying to get that damage on you and measure that out.
That's true. He's powerful.
He's
Maybe
quite
he's not
good.
the easiest, though.
A lot of these newer characters, a little more
Parker's
complicated.
pretty good, straightforward,
True. A newer character, I don't know if it came from Sinister Motives, but X-23 is sort of like Drax 2.0. A little bit more complicated, I would say, but still quite powerful and fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are some pretty good suggestions, y'all. So thanks for the email, John. We also hope you have a good 2025, and thanks for the 5 stars. We always appreciate a 5-star review.
And I appreciate the power that you've vested in me.
The Red King of the People's Podcast.
I am now the Red King.
I love that. Okay, we have another email here. It says, "Hey, Boom Guy, longtime listener who just caught the most recent episode. Great listen as always." Thank you. At one point, you guys were trying to recall the one card that gives you +1 to a hero's basic stats for the round, and it is Morale Boost. I think you then said you wish there was a card where you could boost someone else's stats, and I think you mean lead from the front. I think that would do what you're asking. I agree it would be really cool to get more cards in leadership that can help other players and shine better in multiplayer, and really lean into that because there aren't too many different deck archetypes in leadership. Mission Leader is a great example where it's good for you in solo, but it's great in multiplayer. Anyway, keep pumping out more great content. I'd give it 6 stars if I could. From the other 13. P.S. While he's not my favorite hero, that's Domino, Vision ranks in my top 5. This is clearly a man of culture, a very smart listener. He listens to the people's podcast, and he loves Vision, so all around seems like a great
Vision
guy.
player. I'm a bias, but we'll take it.
Yeah, I think what he's saying here in the email fits in really well with what Xander was talking about earlier, which is enjoying leadership and liking to have, a team of people and leading the army of people. I think that's really great. And that's what they're asking for, more cards like that kind of benefit the table. Mission Leader's a good shout. Things like Helicarrier, Avengers Mansion are basic, obviously, but same kind of thing. I agree. I think we should have more of that. Thoughts?
The X-Men leaned into that a little bit more with the X-Mansion and the X-Jet. But from my experience, the X-Jet doesn't often get used in that way. X-Mansion I see sometimes as sort of like a secondary crew quarters.
Mm-hmm.
But they started doing that, which I like. But I like that being more of a leadership identity thing than just an X-Men thing.
Mm. Yeah, I wish they built out that archetype more within leadership. I agree. Xander, thoughts on leadership?
As mentioned before, big fan. But yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a fun part of that specific aspect to just be able to, lead the team, and that's the namesake of it, right? So, I would love to see more of that going forward. Can't say anything about it, but I am with you in agreeing that it'd be cool to see.
Crossing our fingers. Okay, so thanks, listeners, for emailing in. Again, if you want to send us a message, it's winninghandpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment here if you're watching this on YouTube. I think Spotify, you can also leave comments. Wherever you want to get in touch with us, that'd be great. I'm happy to read. I can't read all of them. We are getting more and more these days, but I read as many as I can. Let's transition. Before we go to the cards, which I know everyone's excited for, hearing about the 2 new cards, let's spend a few minutes talking about what we've been playing recently. In terms of Marvel Champions, or not, if you haven't been playing a lot of Marvel Champions or there's something else you're really excited about. I think last episode, Lethus was very excited about Arkham Horror, so he talked about that a little bit. But Lazy Titan, do you want to kick us off and tell us what you've been playing recently?
Recently, in terms of Marvel Champions, I have been playing one of the heroes that our dear guest mentioned. I played some Bishop.
Ooh.
I played him in Red. Wow, surprising.
The Red King, of course.
The Red King, of course. I went for, what all Red players do. I did the Hone Technique thing because his resources have double resource. Neither of them is a mental resource, which is not the best, but it's more resources for your big events, which you're going to play. And I like his little gimmick. I like his discarding off the top of his deck to draw more resources. I think that's fun. And the healing when you take damage is really good. The problem I imagine is the biggest with him. I run into a couple times where you just draw a hand of nothing, just all resources, and then you get hit and you take damage and draw more nothing. That can sometimes punish you. Of course, then you get to heal up a bunch with your suit, so it's not all bad. But they are... It's just a lot of... sometimes that you got the hands that really didn't do anything, and that kind of sucks in a multiplayer game especially. So I was trying to think of ways to give out the resources to other people. So alliance cards are fun. Playing alliance cards with a Bishop player gives them something to throw all their extra money into, because they will often end up with a handful of the cards. They can't play all the cards, or they can't spend all the resources they have.
Yeah.
So things like that, or things like Blade to just spend resources on, or his allies are good ways to just spend resources. So just having a sink for all his extra money is very nice. But I enjoyed it. His suit healing himself when he takes damage is very fun.
Yeah, I think Lockjaw and Machine Man are pretty common includes in decks. You put Machine Man down, you can just dump resources into that. Lockjaw, you're probably going to mill him anyway. You can just dump resources into that if you have nothing else. I tried playing a little bit of Bishop recently as well, not at the same time. But I was trying to lean into the getting attacked, so I tried playing him in aggression and using cards like toe-to-toe and things to invite attacks or counterattack to try to take that damage and then use it for something else. Same thing in protection, get behind me and bait and switch cards like that to try to invite taunt, invite attacks and then do things with it. It hasn't been super successful. I'm a bit hit and miss on Bishop. Sometimes I really have a great time. Sometimes I just feel like I have a bunch of resources in my hand. But I think a lot of the game with Bishop is before you start, when you kind of figure out how many resources you put in. So,
Okay.
I will let our esteemed guest go last. So I'll fill in now. I've been messing around with Venom recently. I've been doing some Guardian builds in Protection, and one that I've kind of narrowed and honed in on, and I'm kind of testing to see if it's viable to actually post somewhere and share. But it's working with a lot of tough cards, so using cards like Shake It Off, Hard Knocks, and Come Get Me Bub. So 3 ways to kind of consistently get tough cards. Shake It Off works really well with Groot and Martyr, which are 2 Guardian allies. Groot, when he defends, he heals 2 immediately. So you could defend, heal 2, Shake It Off can give him a tough card then. So he can often stay around for a long time because he's defending with and without tough again and again. Martyr is awesome because she can kill. If she has a tough card, for example, with Shake It Off or something, then she can kill a minion. The consequential damage defeats her own tough card, and then she gets another tough card from defeating a minion, so that can kind of loop around, which is cool. And then I've been using Face the Past to try to farm those cheap symbiotes that you can kill easily and fill the encounter deck with more of those little symbiotes that you can use for Come Get Me Bub and Martyr. Anyway, so it's kind of a lot of tough. I played it a few times with some other people at different player accounts, and so far it's really cool. I'm still kind of honing the deck list down, but maybe I'll post it on Marvel CDB someday. So I've been having a ton of fun with Venom, going back to old heroes. So Xander, what have you been playing recently?
Oh, man. Recently, I would have to say the most recent game I've actually played, I was trying to think of it. I was like, when was the last time I got to sit down and really get into this? Was a teaching game, which feels very fun for me. I was like, oh, that's cool. That, like, my last one I could talk about was getting to break out the core set again and, run into Rhino real quick. But I picked Iron Man because he's my favorite from the core set, obviously. Big fan, love a bunch of different gear, so it was super fun. But recently, the ones that I played outside of a teaching game, I think the last time I got to play was with some of with the Mojo Mania. I went back and did Quicksilver, like mentioned before, just old faithful, and so that was the last time I really got to sit down and play outside of, hey, here's how a game works, and more like quarterbacking for that one, and got to actually sit down and really get into the game. I love Mojo Mania. It was super fun. I had a great time.
Mojo Mania is a community favorite. I think ever since it's come out, I see a lot of people talking about it and playing it a lot. It's definitely one that the community rates very highly.
It's a good one. Some good encounter sets in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And understandably a favorite. It's not one where I, am puzzled by the idea of it. It's like, oh yeah, this gives you a lot of really cool things.
Yeah, I love the scenario packs. Those are a thing that the community really loves and misses, and hopefully we're getting more of those soon. But especially like the mini campaign that it creates, which is really cool. So you're just getting a lot of value in those scenario packs, which is cool.
For sure. I think I remember reading some of the submissions for our campaign contest, and I think there was a lot of Mojo Mania things included in that.
Which you are announcing very soon, if I know, it's on the 16th of January, I think, which is 2 days from
next
goes
Thursday. Yeah, 2 days from this releasing. And so, super excited. I will not be on the stream, unfortunately. I'll be out of town. But Alicia will be taking my spot. She has all the notes we have. But it'll be Tony, Frank, and Aaron all on stream talking about, the winners and some honorable mentions and things. And we're really excited. We were devastated to not end the year with that as our final stream. We were super excited for that. And then the snow was too bad. We're like, we can't ask everybody to come in and risk that. So luckily or unluckily, we haven't really had a lot of snow lately, so should be ready to go next Thursday, and I know everybody's super excited to finally talk about it.
Okay, so since you aren't going to be at the live stream on Thursday, you might as well just tell us the winners now.
That sounds that's good logic to me. That adds up to me.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. So the winners are. I would love to, but I cannot do that to.
You got to cut them off there, so it sounds like we got inside information.
I will wait until Thursday to accept my prize, but thanks for drawing it out a little bit longer. I'm just kidding. I didn't even submit anything, but I do look forward. I did play some of the ones. It wasn't a year ago. I think it was maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember when it was the last one, but I did play some of the finalists, and it was fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited for people to see what people did this year. I think they'll talk quite a bit on the stream about what's different in the submissions between the two different years. And so just obviously the card pool is a huge part of it, but the different like themes and things that we're seeing people bring into and how they took this and ran is really interesting. So I'm excited for them to all get to really dive into it. I'm sure it'll be probably a fairly long stream based on chatting through all of the scenario, all the campaigns and things. And I look forward to sharing the full campaigns that were submitted in the future once we have those all done.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And Lazy Titan and I actually helped playtest a campaign for a friend of mine.
Ooh.
He sent it over. Before he submitted, he was working on it, and he asked for some feedback. So we actually played through one. I won't say what it was or who it was, but we did play through that, and I had a good time with it. And so I'll be looking out for that one, but also for the other ones.
Well, if it wins, are you going to take a little bit of credit? You're like, well, I helped. I'm
going to take all.
I'm going to take all of the credit, Xander. Come on.
Perfect.
Clearly, you don't watch this show very often. Okay. I will take all the credit for everything. Okay, now is the moment that everyone has actually been waiting for. So we are going to reveal 2 new cards now. We've talked about everything else. People have scrubbed past all the other information, and now they're going to hit the timestamp that says the reveal cards are here. So we have 2 reveal cards today. We are going to reveal them one after another, and we're going to kind of go through them. So just in case you are not super familiar, I know you're an avid listener of the People's Podcast Center, but just in case you forgot, we generally break cards down into 4 different categories. Loyal viewers and listeners will know. It's art, theme, power, and fun. So we're going to look at these cards. You are not seeing them for the first time, Xander, but Lazy Titan and I are seeing them for the first time, or thereabout. Obviously, I have them already pulled up here. And then we're going to kind of break down the art. We're going to read the cards, break down the theme, and kind of hypothetically talk about the power and the fun because we haven't actually played with them yet. But if you have,
definitively, we're going to talk about the power and the fun. We know well, we know better, we know exactly what it is. So we'll give our opinions, and that will be the truth of the matter from this point on.
The Red King has spoken.
The Red King has spoken.
Okay, so let me share the first one on. Is there anything you want to say about these cards before I reveal them, Xander?
I don't think there's anything I want to say beforehand. Plenty of things after. But I'm really excited for these because I think, despite being one of them being in my favorite aspect there, but I think they do something similar, and they're in the same space, I'll say.
Yes.
And I think it helps players like me who have the worst luck. So that's what I'll say before we reveal them.
I love that the 2 you brought kind of have a very similar theme. So let's jump into the first one right now. Lazy Titan, would you mind reading the card for us? And then we will jump into the discussion.
First preview card of the day is a 1-cost upgrade titled Intelligence, which has the keyword preparation.
Mm-hmm.
This is big. It says max 1 per player, and a response after a player is dealt an encounter card, discard Intelligence, look at each encounter card dealt to a player and the top card of the encounter deck. You may swap any number of those cards, and it produces a mental resource. And it is Injustice.
That is a pretty crazy effect. So
interesting for sure.
Yes, not something that we've seen before. I've not seen an effect like this. So let's look at the art first, and then we'll kind of get to the other stuff next. So the art is, Lazy Titan, why don't you describe what the art is for people who are listening and not watching on YouTube?
So the art of the card is on the right-hand side, we see Black Widow kind of shadowed in a corner, kind of observing what looks like some kind of secret lab of some kind, have like the black and yellow stripes of some kind of caution something, so maybe they're doing something dangerous. Lots of computers, scientists, lots of holograms, and all kinds of, tech science stuff that I'm sure they're doing. It's important. But just sort of generally observing, clearly is not being seen, and taking in the information, gaining intelligence.
Yeah, I particularly love that they're in this clearly like secret kind of high-tech lab thing, and Black Widow is kind of, it looks like she's spying or, looking at them. And on their desks, they have like little table lamps, they're desk lamps that look like something that my grandmother would have at her house.
In each desk. There's 2 desks
on
we can
each
see clearly, and both of them have the same lamp.
Yeah, they have like high-tech space chairs, like they're from, the USS Enterprise, and then they have like a little table lamp.
It's clearly some kind of Hydra standard issue thing or something. Yeah. It must be part of the welcome package. But they all have them.
I love that. I think also the guy sitting at the desk in the very front, I think he has 2 screens, but I think they're one in front of the other, which is an odd way to do that. But
looks like he's maybe got a monitor for his tablet. Very high tech.
Yeah. We're clearly dissecting this to a degree that many people will not. Xander, what do you think about this art?
Oh, I really enjoy the art. I think it's perfect for a card like this where you're figuring out what the best plan of attack is to tackle these encounter cards. Black Widow's a cool character. I agree. The lamps are interesting. I think. Do you think they bought them separately? One of them got them first, and the other copied, or do you think it was like a bulk sale they got?
Standard issue, probably.
Standard issue. Everybody gets.
Feels kind of standard issue. It looks kind of like sort of militaristic. The whole vibe.
Yeah,
it's very gray.
I imagine this is what it looks like inside FFG when they're designing the card games. Like this is
your
like.
office, right?
Yeah.
That the guy at the desk is you. Right?
That's where you work. That's your lamp, Xander.
Same exact hairline. The guy in the chair there. And this is how Tony, looks down, make sure everything's moving correctly.
Yes, this is Tony's artistic interpretation of himself and his
back to work. He envisions himself as Black Widow, in fact.
Yes, viewing the thing from Secret Office when really he's just there.
Yeah.
Work like everybody else.
So let's kind of talk thematically about this card. Is this thematic? Does the what it does and the keyword, the traits, the title, the artwork, does it all work together to kind of make a coherent thematic thing?
I think so for sure. Preparations, I've always done a lot of, obviously you're preparing for something. That's the whole theme of it. And they often, especially in Justice, deal with encounter cards. A lot of them are preventing or altering encounter cards or doing something with that. This is the same kind of idea, but in a new way that I think is actually quite powerful. Mm-hmm. It seems kind of lame when you first read it, and then as you think about it, it becomes really more and more powerful. And like we were just talking about a few minutes ago, scales with player count in a really nice way and interacts with the more people you have. If you have 4 people, this lets you look at 5 cards and arrange them however you want to, which is very powerful. This card guarantees that on the turn you use it, you will not draw Shadows of the Past if you don't want to. It guarantees you won't get your obligation if you don't want to. It is very powerful, and it lets you arrange them how you want. And that's sort of part of the theme of the intelligence, right? You know what's going to happen before it does, and so you can make a plan for it. That's why people gather intelligence. That's the whole point.
Oof. Xander, anything to add?
That was a perfectly exhaustive list of, why this feels thematic. I agree wholeheartedly on the entire idea. Like you said, scaling with player count. I said I really enjoy 4-player games. I think this is really fun. I think it's really cool, the idea of, setting things up. Intelligence is not just getting out of something bad happening. It's also manipulating the situation to maybe set things up for you to be able to do something even bigger and better than you might have been able to before. And I think that's really what this card excels at, is not just eliminating the problem, but going, okay, how do we turn these things that are going to happen into a benefit for us? Which is cool.
How about we give the minion to the Thor player so that he flips it over and draws his extra 2 cards? Because 2 cards on the villain phase is one of Thor's greatest achievements.
Yes, it is. Clearly, Xander is a man of the People's Podcast because he knows that episode 52, which is not that long ago, this is episode 55.5. Episode 52, we did an entire episode around Spycraft, which is also another justice preparation.
1-cost justice preparation.
Yeah, so very similar. So if you are into 1-cost justice preparations, listener/viewer, go back and check out episode 52, Spycraft. I think this is really thematic. Yeah, like you guys said, I think you guys kind of covered it all, but the fact that it's a preparation, it's intel, it's Black Widow, the spy character, all of it's kind of like using things kind of clandestinely, surreptitiously moving things around. That's super cool. I really like this, and it's obviously going to go really well with Black Widow too.
Also, a response, not a hero response, which is big, especially for characters like Black Widow who want to flip down.
That's a good shout. Yeah, so we're kind of straying into power, so let's just keep going with that. Yeah, why is it important that it's a response?
Because it means you can use it in your alter ego form, right? So it's not a hero response, which means all those people who like to flip down can use it. So that means all the X-Men, every single one printed, as well as like Black Widow, Captain America, Captain Marvel. A lot of the earlier characters. A lot of people like to have incentives to flip down, and this is another way to get advantage from doing that, and also protect yourself while doing that. Yeah. So you flip down, and you guarantee that you're not going to pull the advance in the turn that you already are getting schemed. So you're going to make sure that you're not going to get screwed with a threat, or you make sure you're not going to get your exhaust card when you need to recover. You're not going to pull exhaustion when you need to recover on your turn, or it lets you make sure that you don't get completely screwed by the encounter deck.
Yeah, and thematically that fits, right? Like you don't have to be in superhero form to read some intel and kind of figure out what your next step is. So I love that they take that.
Specifically want to not be for it to be undercover. That's why secret identities are so nice.
That's only if they stay secret, though. But I love this that they thought about that and didn't make it a hero response. That's a nice move. How strong do we think this card is going to be? I mean, how powerful is it? Xander, how powerful is this?
Oh man, how do we rank powerful cards here? Is there a numbering system, or I think it's
it's just what you really think. How strong good do you think it is?
At my table, I think this is gonna be fairly powerful. I think I will be playing this plenty when I swap into Justice for any of the heroes. I have notoriously bad luck if you've watched any of the streams on the internet. So whatever can't happen always does, and so I think this is just one more thing that says, okay, this thing really can't happen right now. I need this, especially playing campaign modes like I do. It's nice to, one thing going bad can affect the rest of the campaign. So, having some ways to mitigate that will be really nice. And I like you mentioned, I'm really glad it just does response. It feels cool to set up great combos with you and the other players. And so I think, especially if I'm playing 4-player, this is going to be a card I'll be consistently looking at.
Yeah, I think this is really strong. I mean, specifically someone like Venom Goblin, who deals out 2 encounter cards at the start of his second phase. So if you start the game there or whatever, that's potentially in a 4-player game 8 encounter cards, and you can look at all of them because you look at each encounter card dealt to each player. You may not get that at the start of the game, obviously, because you won't have this in play. I think it's limited appropriately because it is max 1 per player and can't be played under any player's control. So it's not one of those you can pass around the table unless you're playing plot convenience with Deadpool and the pool aspect, which is like completely busted card. Other than that, you're only going to have 1 at a time, which is good. Otherwise, it could stack up and kind of run the game away from the scenario. But this is really strong. And so how fun is this card then? How fun is it to snatch victory away from the bad guys?
I think it's cool. I think this is a fun little thing.
It's obviously fun.
I think changing the encounter deck, I think is good at avoiding the bad stuff. But there are lots of heroes like I said, Thor earlier would love a minion to be in front of him, or there are some characters where it's actually not that bad to pull certain kinds of cards. And so if you can, if you're playing a deck that really needs your symbiote suit or whatever, and you have your encounter cards that discard your highest cost upgrade, you just give that to somebody who's got some dumb shield upgrade that they don't care about, and then you can negate the villain's advantage and even sometimes get a bonus out of it, especially because you also can change the top card of the encounter deck, which some heroes care about. People like Scarlet Witch can then use that for her Hex Bolts or her ability. Gambit can use that. Gambit the ally can use that.
Yep.
Doctor Strange can add Thwart to his card based on the boost cards. So there's quite a few heroes that can manipulate the top card of the encounter deck and use that to their advantage. And then also just knowing what your boosts are going to be is really powerful, helps with your math of your blocking. It's a lot of information, which is really useful to have, and it's fun to do. And it's not going to happen every turn, which would get a little frustrating, I think. Max 1 per player is good because this could get exhausting to just always do, but it's fun to have here and there.
But interestingly, it doesn't require a spy, unlike some of those things like Spycraft. It doesn't require you to control any type of character, which is cool.
For any Justice deck. I feel like this could be a one-of in almost any Justice deck.
Yeah.
In perpetuity.
Is this an auto-include?
I don't think it's an auto-include, but I think I don't think you would be wrong to include it in every deck. I think just like a one-of, just as like a it will never be bad. It's always good to know what's going to happen before it happens. That even if you get 3 cards that are identical and you know what's going to happen, then you get to plan your turn a little earlier. You can know what's going to happen, and so you can lean around that.
Yeah, I mean, Injustice, like true auto includes, I don't know how many exist in this game. I think Skilled Investigator is as close as you can maybe get Injustice to an auto include. That's one I think it pays to throw it in your deck kind of no matter what you're doing. What do you think, Xander? Is this an auto include Injustice?
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say an auto include, but I do think it is always, laid out in front of you when you're first putting together your Justice deck. It's not one of those that stays in the box and you're like, oh yeah, is there something that does this thing? And then you're sorting through it. It's one of those ones where you have, 30 cards laying out there and you're like, okay, I need only 15 of these. And so it's always one that you're consistently looking at. I think one up feels fair. I think I could see that happening. But yeah, like you said, I think it's always something you have to think about, but it's never something you have to run with, which is nice.
Yeah, agreed. And it is a mental resource which fits with the theme of intelligence, but also there are a number of cards in Justice that care about that.
Go for
multitasking
justice,
and
lay down
stuff
the
like
law.
that. Yeah. So that is the first card, and I will stop sharing. And we have one more to get through, and I know the people are very excited. This one is in your favorite aspect, Xander. So I'm going to have you read this one if you are up for reading a card.
Absolutely.
All right.
I know you've never read this one, so
here it is, the first one, or the second card. If you would read that for us, and then we'll get into it.
All right, we've got a 3-cost support titled Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a team trait. Play under any player's control. Max 1 team card per player. If each of your characters has the S.H.I.E.L.D. trait, this card gains interrupts. When you reveal an encounter card, exhaust this card. Cancel the effects of that card and discard it. Then reveal another card from the encounter deck.
That has shades of the Protection Black Widow ally, right? I think it's literally just her ability,
but doesn't cost anything.
Also Spycraft, which we talked about earlier. So before we get into that, let's talk about the artwork here, because this is interesting. Xander, for people who are listening and can't see this, could you please describe what the art is for them?
Yeah, so we've got many different Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously. Front and center, we have, I believe that's Phil Coulson there. And then I'm going to need help with all of the different heroes, but we've got an entire team here with 5 others besides Phil in action poses. They're coming in swinging. They've got, karate chops ready to go, it looks like, a couple of them. We've got like Mockingbird there.
Yep.
Who else do we have here? Quake.
Looks like
You're asking
Quake
the wrong
in the
guy. I
bottom
think
right.
Bottom right is Quake, and in the
right
background
side
is
I
Mockingbird.
don't know.
I don't know the other ones.
The one on the left side, she's got a robot eye.
Yeah,
Yes, looks like her face is kind of peeled away, and she has like a Terminator eye. Viewers, listeners, help me out.
I know Mockingbird, Quake, and Coulson. The rest of these, and the guy in the back left just looks like a guy.
I feel like he showed up on a different card though. That was also in the S.H.I.E.L.D. reveal article. I'm sure viewers will remember. I think he showed up in a card. There was like a weird ally card that forced
He's a spy.
Like if he didn't attack or something like that, he discarded himself. There was something. I don't have it pulled up, but viewers who remember, please let me know down below. What's his name? What's that?
Somebody find this man.
Yeah, somebody let me know who these people are, because as we all know, Boom Guy does not read comics, so I think that's Quake and Mockingbird. The rest of them, I have no idea. I never saw Phil Coulson in that getup.
People don't have the same kind of unique uniforms that superheroes do, so you're just looking at 6 people.
Yeah.
Mockingbird has the mask, Quake has the gauntlets, and Coulson is kind of a recognizable face, but the rest of them are just humans.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so thematically, how thematic is this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing?
I think it's pretty thematic. S.H.I.E.L.D. likes to have lots of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, so having all your characters have the S.H.I.E.L.D. trait also fits with the other team cards. Canceling encounter cards is, like, as we just talked about, is a very S.H.I.E.L.D. trait. Mm-hmm. Black Widow, the ally, does it. Spycraft does it. Black Widow, a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., famously. Only thing I don't love about this card is that it doesn't have the S.H.I.E.L.D. trait itself. That doesn't feel very thematic. A lot of shield stuff likes to exhaust shield other shield cards to get advantage, and I think even though this card wants to exhaust itself, it would be nice to have the option to exhaust it for more shield value. So that loses a little bit of theme for me, but otherwise, it feels pretty shield to me.
I don't disagree. I think that could be a balance thing. If you might be able to like exhaust a different shield thing to ready this, then you could cancel multiple cards. I don't know for sure. I do think that, and we've said in this podcast many times, we love the Asgard trait because although it is not extensive, it feels like it has an identity. It feels like when you play an Asgard hero, when you play an Asgard ally, when you play an Asgard card,
even just a card with an Asgard character on it.
Yes, it's like
that's how good that's how good it is as an aspect that you can just see Thor on a card and know kind of what it's about.
Yeah, and I feel like Shield, like you mentioned with Spycraft, and the last card we looked at Intelligence, and this card, and the Black Widow ally, all these things are kind of stopping things or preparing. Like the preparation keyword is very Shield. Coulson pulls in preparations, the Justice ally. So a lot of these things, they feel like they have an identity, which is really, really cool. I love when teams feel like they have a thing that they do. So to me, it feels thematic. Xander, what do you think?
I think I'm with you on the exact same notes there. It does feel very Shield to be able to interact with the encounter cards. I like that it works well with intelligence if you're all out there. I mean, it's cool to, if there's one card you couldn't get rid of, great. Here's another way to eliminate that one from being the problem, even if you had to pass it around the table a couple times, basically.
Yeah.
But I realized who the other one was. I pulled it up because I thought I recognized it. It is Leo Fitz, is the back top left character.
That's the
there.
one. He was revealed.
It was
revealed in the article. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. I couldn't have let it go. Something about it. I was like, we've got this. Yeah, I think it's fun. I really love the artwork. Just calling it Agents of Shield and having that be your team, like you said, it maybe not into the same length of Asgard just yet until we see the rest of the cards for what this looks like. But I think it's really cool to have that team dynamic. Again, it plays right into what I like about leadership, and so very excited for it.
Yeah, and I like that we have a lot of these team cards. I think most, if not all of them, cost 3, right? Uncanny X-Men, Uncanny X-Force, Mighty Avengers. Am I forgetting any?
Guardians of the Galaxy costs 2.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a different one, and but these are cool.
3.
Only one team card per player, which makes sense. But this is a cool card. I really like the idea that you can cancel stuff like that. So let's just talk about how powerful it is then, right?
I was going to say, I believe this is now you can cancel treacheries like this in every aspect except for red.
Look,
once again, my kingdom is neglected.
We're not talking about
thrown aside.
Right.
Okay. You've had it too good in aggression.
Next time that they bring a card, I'm sure Xander will remember that you're the Red King, and he will bring an aggression
This is my
card.
penance for Hone Technique, and I'll take that.
Hone Technique is crazy. So how powerful is this card, guys? Like, is this going to be really, really strong? Are you going to be building? Is this a card you build around? How good is it?
I think it has to be a card you build around just because you have to have all your characters have the shield trait, which includes your hero. So that limits your characters to what you can play. And I think some of the heroes, like Black Widow, I believe is shield on her alter ego, but not in hero form.
Same with Cap and War Machine.
So
I think.
Sometimes it might require you to flip down if you're playing some of those earlier heroes, or obviously if you're playing people like Nick Fury or Maria Hill or anyone else in this wave, I'm sure will be shield traded on both sides.
Yep.
It does say encounter card. It does not say treachery, so that means obligations can be countered with this. Always nice to have. Minions and obligations, so the things that are a little harder to get rid of. A lot of things say treachery, so it's hard to get rid of those pesky obligations and minions. So you pull the Mystique, and you really don't need that right now. It's a good way to get rid of that. It is only once, but that seems pretty fair. And Shield, we'll have to see how good the new Shield allies are. As of right now, we have Maria Hill and we have Mockingbird, the people on this card. Maria Hill, Mockingbird, both quite good. Mockingbird has fallen off a little bit, but she's still very solid. And Shield likes allies. I think it's good. I think it's probably not the best team card, but it's certainly not the worst.
Yeah, Xander, what do you think? How strong is this?
Good. I feel very similarly. Like you said, I think it does have to be a build-around card because you have to work on, making sure everybody's part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but the payoff is pretty massive to just ignore or get rid of a counter card when it shows up.
Every turn.
Really need to. Yeah, every turn. It's not we have to get rid of this each time. You're paying 3, and if in some of those longer scenarios, this just really pays off eventually. But
and
I
the
think
shield
line too.
The shield strategy is often slower. It's often building up a lot of assets and then using them for all kinds of value and sort of creating a longer game.
Yeah, I think the thing holding it back from being really powerful, the effect is obviously great. It's the shield trait thing. They're just, as of right now, at release, there are no heroes that have the shield trait on their hero side, unless I'm forgetting someone. They're all alter ego, Cap, Widow, War Machine. I think that might
Miles
be
have
it. No, it's his unfortunately named support that has it. So when that will obviously change, Nick Fury and Maria Hill, as we already know from the reveal article, will be traded shield. So right now, this is really only playable with those two, which really limits, right?
I could see you playing in Black Widow. She flips down fairly often.
Aspect. Yeah, but then your own, some of the encounter cards, that's true. If you flip down enough, I don't know how much leadership she's playing.
Honorary shield or that style of card would be a huge boon to this card. It means you can give it to yourself as Black Widow and alter ego to then have it in hero form.
Yes.
So all those heroes then don't have to flip down. So a card like that would make this a much more viable way to play automatically.
Yeah.
And I think it's still thematic for the heroes that have it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good shout. I hadn't thought about that. If you're War Machine, right, you can play honorary shield on yourself. I don't know if they revealed that. I'm sure they will have that. You could put that on yourself, and then when you flip up, you'll still have it. But yeah, I think it's appropriately costed 3. It's kind of expensive, but it does a pretty powerful effect. Yeah. And then how fun is it? And we're kind of going to probably shortcut this one a little bit because canceling encounter cards, we had a big discussion about how fun that was in the last card. It's kind of the same thing. It is fun. It's fun to kind of laugh in the face of the villain, but specifically, like you called out, Lazy Titan, the fact that you can use this for obligations, you can use this for really nasty minions or minion attachments or side schemes, anything that comes out that you really don't want to see, you can avoid it here. You can blank that and get rid of it.
And I will also say to the fun, I think as long as the game, you're having a good game with a bunch of people that you're having fun with, it might be more fun to pull another card that's even worse off of this. So that's sitting
group dependent.
Yeah, group dependent for sure. But if you're just having a good time playing at the con or whatever, you're not really trying to win or get a record or anything. But if you're oh, we really don't need my obligation right now, and then you just pull your second Scarlet Witch obligation or somebody else's obligation, that's just a good punchline, which I think is always fun.
Yeah, I would love to see a table full of shield stuff, right? So somebody could be playing Justice and using global logistics to manipulate what the cards are, and you could potentially get a really bad one and cancel it with this, and then the second one could be not so bad, so you can kind of stack it in your favor. I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
4-player, 4-aspect shield pod could be really cool. I'm hoping to get more shield in other aspects. This seems like a good step in that direction.
Yeah.
Makes me excited for the shield box.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the shield box. And as Xander knows, clearly he's a longtime listener of the People's Podcast, but so as he knows, we've been talking about a shield box for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
I was saying that outside of the Fantastic Four, which is the one that I've wanted since 2019 when I got into the game and it started, Shield is one I've wanted for a couple years. I think when they first came out in the Sinister Motives wave, I thought it was really cool. But again, like the pool aspect, it's kind of limited. It's only in one aspect, really. There's not a ton you can do with it. I wanted them to expand it. So this box was a bit of a surprise. I didn't think they would do it. But the fact that they did is awesome. And I'm super, super, super excited for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Same here. I'm glad that it's one that you were really excited for, especially after 3 different waves of X-Men. It's fun to explore a whole different part of the Marvel Universe.
Totally agree. Okay, so that is the second card for today, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In the first reveal season, as we're calling it, for Marvel Champions Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. drops when exactly, Xander?
I believe February 20... let me make sure. 21st is the release day of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I almost said 23rd. I was like, I don't think that's right. It's February 21st.
February 21st, it will be dropping, so you should look forward to at least one more reveal this week and then 2 reveals every week for several after that. So the community will have plenty of content to kind of talk about and dissect and, go crazy for. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Xander. I really appreciate you taking the time to help explain kind of what people can expect going forward, to tell us a little bit about your role at FFG and what you do, and kind of just talk about cards, which is the fun part of what we do here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you both for having me. Like I said, I love sitting down and talking card games almost as much as I like sitting down and playing card games. And yes. So it's always great to show off new things, get to get first takes and initial impressions. And then I'm sure I'll talk to you in a couple months and be like, okay, now that you've actually played with it, what do you think? Let's go back to those 4 different categories.
Yeah, when I see you at the con, will I be able to actually talk about that stuff? It's always really great to talk about other people who are really into it like we are, because, I talk to normal people, normies as we call them, outside of this hobby. They look at me like I have something growing on my face when I tell them that I spent the weekend looking at these cards. But then when I'm here, you're validating that I am okay and this is normal and we can talk for an hour about a card game. So thank you.
I don't know if I can say we as a group are normal, but I like to think that we are.
Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Whenever I go and visit family, me, my brother, my wife talk about games like this constantly, and everyone just stares at it and goes, "Are you speaking in English? Or are you I don't understand what you're trying to tell me." I'm like, don't worry about it. It's just a really cool card game. So it's fun to get to sit down and really dive into some of these things. So thank you both again.
Yeah, totally cool. Well, listeners, viewers, leave a comment down below for Xander if there's something you want to say to him, if there's something you want to say to me. If you want to discuss what you just saw, hopefully you're excited. How excited are you for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I hope you matches my excitement because I can't wait. winninghandpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, if you liked this content and you listened to the end, please consider rating and reviewing us on whatever platform you're listening or watching on. That means a lot. If you're on YouTube, hitting like takes you half a second, but it is actually meaningful for me. Subscribing, all that kind of stuff, leaving a comment, engagement, blah, 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 algorithm, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. But again, thanks to Xander for being here. Thanks to FFG for presenting us with this game and all these cards and this spoiler season. So we look forward to it, and we'll see everybody in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Later.